Parashat Tzav. Tzav means to command. What is being commanded in this week's parasha? So we see that the commandment is being said to Aaron HaKohen. Says Rashi HaKadosh, what is he being commanded? What is Aaron being commanded on? So he's being commanded on Torah HaKohanim, the Avodah of the Beit HaMikdash. The She'erit Menachem says, every time we see the Lashon Tzav, it means that it has to be done with zrizut, with quickness. It has to be done quick and properly. Says Rabbi Shalom Messas, which is his Yortzeit, his Hilulah, this Shabbat. How could we relate to this idea? Today we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, ba'avonotenu harabim. How could we relate to this idea? So he said, we know that now that we don't have the Beit HaMikdash, what came to replace the Avodah in the Beit HaMikdash is the Tefila. So how does this idea come to Tefila? So number one, Tefila demands a lot of zrizut. It has to be done quickly. What does it mean it has to be done quickly? Not to fly over it. But when something is done by zrizut, it's not just time related. It also means that it's done in a certain way that you did it quick because you were so focused into it. So Tefillah demands zrizut, but not only when you pray it has to be done quick. It means you have to run to Tefillah, you have to get there on time. And everything towards Tefillah has to be zrizut as well. So it says, Rabbi Shalom Messas, a very nice story he brings in the Sefer V'cham HaShemesh, a story of the Arizal. And he said there was once a Rav that walked into the Beit Knesset of the Ari, and he started praying in the Arizal with all his kavanot. He started doing a long Amidah, and the whole Kahal finished the Amidah. And the Arizal himself also finished the Amidah. But there was this new rabbi who just walked into the Beit Knesset. He didn't finish the Amidah. He stayed after the Ari HaKadosh. So after the Amidah, the Ari walked up to this Rav, and he told him, Shalom Aleichem, Baruch haba, how was your trip? So the rabbi looked at him, what do you mean? I didn't do a trip in a while. He's like, of course you were on a trip. On Atachon you were in Paris. You were in London. And you were in New York. He's Bekitzel telling him that I saw your head was in other places during the Amidah. So obviously, this being said, it doesn't mean that the Tefillah has to be super fast, but we shouldn't get lost. The Rabbi Shalom himself said that even when we do too much kavanot, sometimes he gave an example that when he was in Mechaya Metim, he was talking about bringing back the dead people. That Hashem brings down the dead people in the Amidah. So he started thinking about his father, about his grandfather, a big tzaddik that he never met, and he realized that he was still thinking about it when he was ready by Baruch Halenu. So he realized that sometimes when it comes to kavanot, a person has to obviously be careful, because you could be all over the world when you're being mikaven to other brachot. To finish off, Rabbi Shalom actually, very interestingly, he brings in his sefer advice. How could we stay focused? How could we do the tefillah, which is, he says, he goes be'arichut, in depth in this idea of how important tefillah is, the Amidah itself also, the Shemona Esrei, it's all the brachot that we need, a levai that we could understand and focus on every bracha of the Amidah. So he gives an advice, how could a person stay focused during the Amidah? So he says something interesting. It's not it doesn't sound like a big chidush, but he said that he saw it work. And a lot of people that he gave this advice to, it changed their Amidah. He said it completely changed the way they prayed their Shemona Esrei. And he said this is the advice, that in between every single bracha of Shemona Esrei, you stop for a few seconds. It doesn't say think of the bracha, nothing. He just said stop for a few seconds. Because if you stop for a few seconds, you just gave a certain space for that bracha. He said, because most of the time where we get lost is when we just go on the next bracha and we're not even sure what am I praying for? Oh, I'm by tshuva, I want Mashiach, do I want to heal, I want some chokhmah. So we're just confused, so we mix them all up. But he said, if a person just stops, when he finishes, Baruch Atah Hashem, El HaKadosh, he stops for a few seconds, and then he goes to Atachonen, just to stop for a few seconds, it gives each bracha its own focus, and its own title, its own subject. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should be zochet and mitchazek in tefillah, and to focus better, and to understand better what we read. And Shabbat Shalom Mevorach.